San Diego Gas and Electric announced this week that it would shut off electricity to rural county residents during hot, windy weather. SDG&E says it's a matter of public safety. Investigators blamed 3 wildfires that raged through the North County in 2007 on the utility's arcing power lines. Residents in the backcountry and elected officials are questioning SDG&E's decision. So joining us to explain this story is Onel Soto, reporter for the San Diego Union Tribune. Onel, thanks for coming.
My pleasure.
What prompted SDG&E's announcement this week?
Well, what happened this week is we were expecting a decision from an administrative law judge from the Public Utilities Commission on SDG&E's proposal. In order for the commission to rule by August 20th, giving them about 10 days before they wanted to shut down, to implement this plan to shut down power. As soon as we got a word that the Public Utilities Commission would be unable to rule by August 20th and was now aiming for September 10th, we called up SDG&E and said, okay, so what now? They said, well, they're ready to go on September 1st anyway.
Well, SDG&E says this is about safety, but the residents in the backcountry says that this will make them feel less safe. How so?
Well, a lot of things depend on power. You have water systems, you have water pumps, you have telephone, cable, television, the internet, medical devices, air conditioning. A lot of things depend on having enough power. And these outages are significantly longer than a typical power outage. These would last anywhere from 12 to 72 hours. A typical power outage is more like 4 hours. So the people who run these systems say that, while they're ready to deal with a 4-hour power outage, their batteries will draw down or their generators will run out of diesel fuel for that long a time, and they'd be unable to continue providing the services that people rely on.
What are the numbers we're talking about in terms of businesses and residences?
Well, it's the number of accounts is now 55,000. It had been about 60,000, but SDG&E made some upgrades, and Borrego Springs is now not subject to this plan. Generally, it's hard to tell exactly how many people we're talking about, but it's somewhere between 120,000 to 150,000. But not all of them would lose power all at once. The way that this works is there's conditions on before SDG&E would implement it, and all 5 of these conditions would have to happen at a particular weather station before it would decide to cut off power to an area that is related to that weather station.
So I'm wondering why the Public Utilities Commission decided to postpone their decision. What reason did they give?
They did not give a reason, so we don't know why they postponed it. I know that they have been very thorough in terms of the questions that they've been asking SDG&E and SDG&E's opponents, so they must have more work to do, but that's speculation.
So now that SDG&E has made this announcement, has there been any kind of response from the PUC?
The PUC says that SDG&E has the responsibility to operate its power system in a safe manner, and that it is that they're the ones who have to decide how to do that. That's their responsibility. SDG&E says they have the responsibility to make sure that they don't start fires, and this is what they think the best way to do so.
And there were lawsuits, and apparently SDG&E agreed to pay almost $700 million to settle these lawsuits from those 2007 wildfires and faces millions more in losses. So what role do you think that played in the decision to cut power on September 1st?
Well, it's about liability. SDG&E says that it's about safety, but they also agree that this is about minimizing their liability to lawsuits.
Well, I think the other point is that there's got to be some opposition out there.
There is opposition to this plan. There is a very broad coalition of between PUC staff, between AT&T, the telephone company, the cable companies, water districts, school districts, rural advocates, consumer groups, including UCAN, the disability rights advocates, have all entered this PUC proceeding and have said, we don't think this is a good idea. We don't think that the cost-benefit analysis has been done here to say that this is the best way to proceed.
So the story continues. Thank you so much, Onel Soto.
You're welcome.